It was the first time in the history of terror in the Middle East that the victim of terror, which means my wife, who was a classmate of Bibi Netanyahu, who was prime minister at that time, when he called her, she accused him.
Rami Elhanan, you have an exceptional story to tell. There was even at least one book that I'm aware of has been written. So how could I introduce you best, Rami?
Peacemaker.
Peacemaker. Yes. One word.
Yeah.
Now, I have interviewed your wife twice, and I just checked. The second interview was almost exactly a month ago on October the 4th, and it has now just below 40,000 views, which is remarkable given the niche subject, that we have discussed. I've also interviewed her brother, Miko Pellet, twice, and now I have again, I'm searching for the word. I have the honor, in lack of a better term, to talk to you. And I'm very specific with that because I would say most of mankind in your situation would have turned the other way, right? And we will come to what is the other way. Yeah. But now it's enough me talking. Maybe in a nutshell, if you can introduce yourself and the story that we're gonna discuss in the interview, but give some hints for people who do not know.
Okay. First of all, my wife is a really worth listening to. Absolutely amazing, powerful woman, and her message is worth listening to. My name is Rami Elhanan. I'm 75 years old. I'm a graphic designer by profession. Uh, I'm a Jew. I'm an Israeli. And before anything else, I am a human being. I was born in Jerusalem, seventh generation. My mother was born in the old city of Jerusalem, ultra-Orthodox Jewish family. My father came to Israel in 1946 after spending 1 year in Auschwitz. He was badly wounded in the 48 war. She was the nurse that took care of him. This is the reason why I'm able to speak to you right now. I'm a victim of the Israeli upbringing method of the brainwashing system. Uh, I served in the Israeli army. I fought 3 wars. Uh, One of the most powerful, amazing, influencing events of my life is the October 73 war, in which we started with a company of 11 tanks and finished it with only 3. And this was the basic of me being a kind of an anarchist, not wanting to take part of any kind of activity, minding my own business. I studied graphic design in Bezalel Academy for Art and Design and became a graphic design studio. I had a very big graphic design studio in Jerusalem. I married this magnificent wife of mine, Norit Pellet, and we had 4 kids together. And we lived in a kind of a bubble, minding our own business. I was doing graphic design for the right wing, for the left wing, whoever paid me. And this living in a bubble was very comfortable and easy and quiet until about 27 years ago. On the 4th of September 1997, this bubble was blown up to millions of pieces by 2 Palestinian suicide bombers, Hamas members, who blew themselves up in Ben Yehuda Street in the center of Jerusalem. They killed 5 people that day, including 3 little girls. One of these girls was my 14 years old Smada. And this event changed my life completely, turned it upside down. At first, when you hear about the explosion, you keep hoping that maybe this time this finger will not turn towards you. Then you find yourself running in the streets trying to find her. She completely disappeared. And you go from hospital to hospital, from police station to police station. Many long, frustrating hours until eventually, very late of the day, you find yourself in the morgue and this finger is stuck right between your eyes, and you see this sight which you will never ever be able to forget for the rest of your life. And then you have to make a decision. What are you going to do now with this new unbearable burden on your shoulders? And there are only two ways to choose from. The first one is obvious. When someone kills your 14 years old little girl, you are so angry and you want to get even. This is natural, this is human, this is the way most people choose, the way of revenge and retaliation. This way that creates this endless cycle of violence which we are witnessing today. But then after a while, we are human beings. We are not animals. We can use our heads. You start asking yourself questions. Will killing anyone will bring her back? Will causing pain to anyone will ease this unbearable pain? The answer is certainly no. So, in a very graduate and complicated process, you come to the other option, which is much more difficult, trying to understand what happened here. Why did it happen? How could such a horrible thing take place? What can cause someone to be that angry, that mad, that hopeless, that he's willing to blow himself up with 14 years old little girl? Do you have anything to do with it yourself? Maybe some kind of responsibility? Well, it's not easy. It takes time. It took me almost a year. I thought very stupidly that I can go on with my life pretending as if nothing had happened, go back to my studio, lead a normal life, but nothing was normal anymore. And I was not the same person anymore. And about a year later, I met a man who changed my life. His name was Yitzhak Frankenthal. He was a religious Jewish guy, with a big kippah on his head. And you know how we tend to put people into drawers and we stigmatize people. And we judge people by the way they dress, what they put on their heads, around their necks. And I was certain that this guy, Mr. Frankenthal, was a fascist and a right winger, that he eats Arabs for breakfast. I prepared myself to fight him. Uh, and he invited me over to watch a meeting of this group of crazy people. People, Israelis and Palestinians, members of this unique organization, which is called the Parent Circle, which have one common denominator, the understanding that we lost our children because of one abnormal situation, which is the Israeli occupation. And we have to do everything in our power, in a non-violent manner, to change it. So I got a little bit curious. I went to see it. It was 26 years ago, and this meeting changed my life completely. Uh, I was 47 years old at the time, and until today, I'm ashamed to admit it was the first time ever in my life I have met Palestinians as human beings, not as workers in the streets, not as terrorists, not as transparent people, as human beings who carry the same burden that I carry, who suffer like I suffer. And this was a very dramatic meeting from which on I find myself in a voyage, in a journey towards the other side, towards the narrative of the other side, the story, the food, the smell, the music, the everything that was hidden from me so deliberately and viciously all my life. And in this journey, I have many partners from the Palestinian side, from my side, uh, who are combining their most powerful energy on earth, which is the powerful of bereavement and pain. You should know that the power of bereavement and pain is very much similar like the nuclear energy. And like this horrible energy, you can use it in order to bring darkness and destruction and pain and death to people. And you can use it in order to bring light and warmth and hope. So this is what we do at the Parent Circle. We bang our heads against this very high wall of hatred and fear that divide these two nations today, and we put cracks in it, crack after crack. And through these cracks, a little light comes in. A little light can drive away a lot of darkness. And we will put those walls down because the alternative is too painful. And this is my story in a nutshell.
I think you belong to a very selected group of people, and again, in lack of another term, you went through a paradigm shift, right? And again, most people probably would have gone the other way. Before we proceed, it's maybe worth providing a little bit more context in regards to your family. You said you were 3 times in a war. Incredible, yeah. But your father-in-law was a general in the 67 war, which begs the question, because you said you were yourself in the 67 war.
No,
Were you aware of? No.
I was in high
Okay.
school in '67 war. I joined the army right after the war. Uh,
Okay.
I fought in the attrition war, in the October '73 war, and in '82 Lebanon war. My father-in-law was a soldier in the Israeli army, an officer. He was a hero of the '48 war. Was the head of logistics in 6 days general staff, a general in the Israeli army. Later on, he became a professor for modern Arabic literature in Tel Aviv University and became active politically as an outcome of his term as the governor of the Gaza Strip in '56. It was the first time he understood the problem that Palestinians are not going anywhere, that we need to talk to them. And he made a journey which is almost impossible to think of learning the language, learning the culture, understanding the roots, and use it in a political direction. He was one of the first Israelis that understood that without creation of Palestinian state, there will be no end for the conflict. And he was elected. He was a member of the Knesset. Uh, And he died out of cancer in '95, 2 years before the same year that his commander Yitzhak Rabin was murdered, and 2 years before his granddaughter was murdered. And I think he was saved from experiencing this.
If I may ask, and if you're not comfortable answering, just let me know, yeah?
Mm.
But when you came into the, let's say, the Pellet family, how was that for you?
It was not part of my consideration whether they are supporting Palestinians or not. I fell in love with his daughter and I'm still in love with her more than ever. And uh, we looked at him with a lot of admiration, but without any ability of understanding what he's saying. Uh, it was far away from us, it was way above us. Uh, as I said, we grew up as an ordinary Israelis. Israelis are brainwashed. Israelis are growing up under the understanding that we hold a sword in our hand, and the minute we let go, we are doomed. We carry on our shoulders 3,000 years of victimhood. It's under our skin. It's not something that you can choose. We send our kids to Auschwitz when they are 16 years old. They come back draped with the national flag and the slogan "Never Again." It's not something that you can cope with. I mean, you need to be exceptionally powerful in order to turn your back to this upbringing process and say, "I'm not with you anymore." It's almost impossible.
Based on two things, based on what you experienced as a father with the loss of your daughter, but also based on your affiliation with your wife and the Pellet family. I can imagine, actually, I can't, yeah, but in a society coming back to today, yeah, where are you in the society of Israel today with all that's going on? How does the society, I mean, I have no inclination, I cannot judge it, yeah? How tolerant or not tolerant the Israeli society at this very moment is vis-a-vis people like you.
I'm in exile in my own country. People don't like to hear what I have to say. Uh, uh, People are walking to the other side of the street when they face me. I mean, people who used to be good friends. And it's true for the last 26 years, much more these days, the Israeli society is incapable of listening to anything. They are deaf, blind, out of anger, humiliation, will for revenge, and inability to deal with anything else but October 7th. And this is so dramatically powerful that there is no. You can bang your head against the wall, but you will break your head.
Are you, I mean, you must have, let's say, new friends. I mean, in situations like this, you start to know who your real friends are, yeah? But you probably have acquainted some new friends which share similar views.
I have dozens of new friends. It's a matter of choice. You wake up in the morning after a long and sleepless night, and you have to make a choice. I will go this way, not the other way. It's not an easy choice. The easy choice is to go with the rest and to feel loved and to feel appreciated and to feel accepted. The other way is much more difficult, but inevitably I find new friends, I find new brothers, I find new families. I have so many people that I can connect to that I don't have to look back, and sometimes it breaks my heart, but there is nothing to be done. This is the way I chose, and I don't regret one single minute of it.
Gideon Levy, whom I interviewed, I think the second time not so long ago, he told me that currently there were two periods in his life when he had to have bodyguards, and the second period is right now. The first period was when he wrote about the fighter jet pilots a while ago.
Yeah,
But he told me at the moment he needs to have bodyguards.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's a very brave person. I admire him. I think he's one of a kind. I think he expressed most of his writing express exactly what I feel and I think, and we are a voice in the wilderness.
I'm surprised that he can still write, that his articles are still being
No,
published.
I think the Israeli society as a whole, in spite of what's happening today, is much more liberal and progressive than any other society around the world. Uh, my ability to express myself, Gideon Levy's ability to express himself. I'm not saying that they are liberals and accepting and hugging but your ability, in spite of all the difficulties, in spite of all the madness, in spite of the anger, the justified anger that there is, you can express yourself, you can talk, you can, up to a certain limit, which is very, very distinctive. Um, but I saw other societies, like in Germany, like in the United States, like in the UK, like other places that they are not that free.
I heard it a couple of times that basically in Israel itself, you can have harsher critique on Israel than outside.
Yeah,
And
it's true.
I'm living here in Amsterdam, yeah. I
Mm.
filmed yesterday a very small demonstration with Palestine flags of about 5 or 6 people, and it took like, I don't know, 4 minutes, and the whole swarm of police was here.
Yeah,
They did nothing else. They were just standing on a bridge waving flags. That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they are so afraid, they are so driven by the guilt mentality that they cannot allow themselves any appearance of one criticism against Israel, which is, of course, crazy. I always say in every lecture that I finish, I say in a very, very loud and specific voice, say, I'm a Jew, I'm a proud Jew, I have the utmost respect to my people, to my history, to my tradition, and I will tell you that ruling and oppressing and humiliating and occupying millions and millions of people for so many years without any democratic right is not Jewish. Period. There are no two ways about it. And being against it is not anti-Semitism. And this all there is a silence in the audience. I just came back from Italy, from Switzerland, from Poland. Uh, you can you can feel the atmosphere.
You just said something very, very important. Yeah, anti-Semitism is not equatable with anti-Semitism, so anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism. Yeah, and there's an interesting case. I don't know if you know him, Professor David Miller, who was actually sacked from the university in Bristol. I interviewed him, and he reached a landmark court case in the UK in February because there the British court ruled that it is not so anti-Semitism is not the same as anti-Zionism. And I completely understand why the proponents of this conflation apply this strategy, because if both are the same, then any valid critic vis-a-vis the state of Israel can be squashed. And that's exactly what they want.
Which is completely impossible to think about. I mean, it's inhuman.
But it's also so strange, you know. You can call an apple an orange as often as you like to. The apple will always stay an apple, and I do not understand why politically. No, actually, it's not true. I completely understand why they do it. I also don't buy this argument
The,
anymore. It's the guilt here in Europe. There are geostrategic reasons why Israel is where it is, and the politicians today they're not on a guilt trip anymore. They try to instill this guilt trip on their population, which is exploited by the politicians. This is how I
yeah,
see
it's the
it.
matter of who was first, the egg or the hen. The Israel built a wall around itself, which make it identically similar. Israel and Judaism, and this is not true. And once you criticize Israel, which you can criticize any country on the globe for any matter, then you're automatically being shut up by calling you anti-Semite. Well, I can talk and I can speak up and I can express my feelings and I can do whatever I like, and no one can call me anti-Semite.
Apologies for this 60-second interruption, but if this conversation has you intrigued, you will want to hear this. Over on my Substack, I share periodic newsletters that give you real, practical tools to cut through media bias, manipulation, propaganda, and deception. It's free, it's raw, and yes, it's sometimes controversial. Each piece breaks down powerful techniques to help you see through the smoke and mirrors that people, politicians, corporations, and the media use to keep you in the dark. If you're ready to pick up a new skill set that can last your lifetime, hit the link in the description and subscribe. One last thing. As you can see on these screenshots, YouTube and Twitter have decided to silence the critical voices that you can find on SolveCube Analytics. The latest trick is to simply unsubscribing people without them even realizing it. That's why I would really appreciate your support in pushing back against this silencing. If you're not already subscribed, now is really the perfect time to do so. Join us to stay informed and amplify critical voices. For those who were already subscribed, check your subscription status and share this content to help us reach others who value independent analysis. It really makes a difference. Thanks. You already mentioned it. You were on a tour in Europe speaking, and I really read this book. I took it with me on a recent trip into the Middle East. I know that you are giving a lot of speeches, right? Together with Bassam,
Yeah.
who also lost his daughter in a different circumstance. Could you tell me what's the story of the book?
I met Bassam Aramin in 2005. He was an ex-Palestinian prisoner, a member of the Fatah, who has spent 7 years in Israeli jail. And he created a group of ex-Palestinian prisoners alongside with ex-Israeli soldiers, combat soldiers. My son Elik, my oldest son, he was one of the Israeli group. There were 4 Israelis and 7 Palestinians. And my son invited me to watch this first meeting, which was amazing to me because it was 2005 and it was after the second Intifada, and this meeting was all I dreamt about, the ability of the two sides to get together. And he always said that I fell in love with him, which is true. We became very, very good friends. They came to our house, we came to their house. We became very, very close. And on the 16th of January 2007, I was driving with my wife in the streets of Jerusalem. I got a telephone call, told me that Abir, Bassam's daughter, was shot in the back of her head by an Israeli soldier. We drove to the hospital. We sat 2 days by her bed until she passed away. And for me, it was like losing my daughter for the second time. It was a dramatic blow. It was, as Bassam calls it, a test to my very inner commitment to peace. And ever since then, we are not just friends. We are brothers. We are very, very close. We go together everywhere. We know all around the world together. Uh, the lectures sometimes 5 times a day, and and on I think it was 2017. We were both the directors of the Parent Circle, me and Bassam. And there was a group of writers that came to listen to our story, the same story that I told you, in our office in Bejala in Bethlehem. And there was some guy there who was crying like a baby. He couldn't stop crying, and we ran to him, hugging him, trying to comfort him. And he asked permission to write our story. He said, "Can I write?" We said, "Yes, okay." He said, "You don't understand. I'm a writer. I want to write a novel about it." The son told me, "Oh, you write what you want." Said, "You don't understand. I invent stuff. Invent what you want." And it took him 5 years. We avoided reading it because it was too painful. The first time I really read it was on the plane on the way to the United States for the launching of the book, and I couldn't take it off my head. It's a masterpiece. His ability to touch our pain in a way that no ordinary person can, because if it didn't happen to you, you cannot understand. You will never understand. But he was able to touch our pain in a way that was extraordinary. And he built the story on layers on layers on layers from many many angles, like the name Apeirogon, which means an endless number of sides to its shape. And the line that connects everything is the stories, little stories. It can the 1,001 stories that can be one line or a couple of pages. And he says, like Scheherazade, who had to tell a story every night in order to stay alive, we are telling the story 5 times a day in order to keep the girls alive, which is really beautiful and very, very true. And we became very, very good friends. And the book was amazingly powerful and amazingly accepted. It was translated to 22 languages. Steven Spielberg bought the rights to make a movie out of it. It's huge. It's way, way above us.
I have to say, I almost didn't pick it up because, as you said, it's a novel. I don't read novels. So I read it, and it's exactly like you said. It's layer upon layer. They come from all directions, and in the end, you follow the red thread throughout. I don't want to make a commercial for the book. It's a really good book. It's a different type of book. It's not what you expect.
Yeah.
But the question I'm having, what I would ask the author here is, so why a novel? I mean, to my knowledge, the facts are all real. So why a novel? Why non-fiction?
I think he took the opportunity to look at the conflict, to look at the wider angle that he possibly can, but not in a political way. It's not an historical analysis of the conflict, far away from it. It shows the people, it shows the feelings, it shows the little stories around the conflict. So many things that blow your mind up with angles that you never thought could be connected together. And this is beautifully done.
It absolutely is. What stuck with me, the couple of things, of course. I've spoken with a number, I don't know, I have now, I don't know, 100 interviews on this channel. I've spoken with many Israelis who say exactly the same that you did. I've never met a Palestinian till I was 20, 30, whatever, except when they're in the army, of course, then they meet, the terrorists, but not as, humans, not as, how shall I say this, someone living on the same land with the same worries, with the same fears, with the same aspirations. So, and that was also the case, and I think you scratched on this already. That was also in your case the case.
As I said, I'm a victim of the Israeli upbringing, and this is not a unique Israeli upbringing. I'm talking about two societies at war.
Yeah.
They need to prepare the young generation to be able to sacrifice themselves when time comes. And the only way to do it is by hiding the other side, demonizing the other side, and dehumanizing the other side. And in a state of war, it's a natural thing for a society to do. I was lucky to wake up when I was 47 years old. Most of the Israelis are still not there, and they will not be there, like most of the Palestinians. I mean, we are in a bloody, very, very deep and dramatic conflict on our very existence. Each side looks at it as a zero-sum game. Your winning is my loss. My loss is your winning, and there is nothing in the middle. And the whole world is sitting on the balcony watching this conflict. They're looking at it as a reality show in a TV show. They look at it at these two crazy sides killing each other with the mentality of a football fans. It's my team against your team. There is no discussion. There is no compassion. There is no listening. There is nothing. Only my team with my flags, with my banners, with my music, with my hymns against yours. And the winner takes all. And I believe that most of the people around the world are not like this. I think most of the people are willing to have peace, to pay the price of peace, and they are the majority. The minority are those who said all of it is only mine.
Like you said, I think there's a lot of indoctrination going on, and I do know that your wife doesn't like the word. She uses a different terminology. But in essence, it's an indoctrination. It's everywhere. I mean, it's here in the Netherlands, it's in Germany, it's in the US, it's everywhere when we talk about this conflict or any other conflict. What's more and more, global phenomenon is this bipolarity. It's either black or white. There's nothing in the middle anymore that you can even talk with each other, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, this is it's very sad because when there is no dialogue, when there is no discussion, when there is no ability. I remember I went with Bassam to an Israeli school, which is very known. It's called the Denmark High School. It's one of the worst schools in the country. They are fans of
Worst
the
in which sense? In which sense?
in wins right wingers,
Ah,
fascists, hooligans,
okay.
angry people. They are the supporters of the Jerusalem Beitar Yerushalayim football team, and they are really vicious. They are racist. They are the worst that you can imagine. It's called La Familia, the group. And we went there and we gave our lectures. I told my story, Bassam told his story about his jail, about his sitting in jail watching the movie about the Holocaust and find himself crying with sympathy to the people killed, and very touchy story. And then you can watch it if you Google Rami and Bassam in Denmark High School. You can see it. It's on YouTube. Some students shouted at him, "It cannot be that you don't haven't done anything. She must have done something." And the headmaster immediately jumped on him, tried to shut him up and hush him. And then Bassam said to him, "Why do you shut him up? How will you have listen? How you will be able to be listened if you don't let him speak? How will you get respect if you don't give respect?" It was it was an earthquake. It was something that I could feel the air. And in the end, they were standing in line, coming to shake his hand in a very simple gesture. I believe it is possible. I believe that in spite of all the anger, sometimes the anger is justified. Sometimes when you are prison of your own pain, you cannot see any other pain, but it can be changed.
What made you, that's the one thing that I find so amazing, yeah? What made you flip on the side of reconciliation,
I did not
peace?
flip the side. As I told you, I came out of the war a very angry and disappointed young man, and I decided to detach myself from any kind of commitment or involvement. But I had my brain, I had my education, I had my upbringing, I had my father who taught me. Uh, I didn't came to the world without anything, and when I had to decide when someone put a microphone under my mouth and I had to speak up. I had to decide where am I standing? What am I doing with this microphone? What is the sound that I'm willing to sound? And what is my message? And I dived deep into myself to understand what do I want to say? Where do I stand? What is my message? If people are willing to listen to me. And it took me about a year or so to develop myself, and then a journey, as I said, journey toward the other side that was deliberately and viciously and hidden for me. And I still discover a new thing every morning.
What I found impressive in the book, of one of the items that I found impressive is where where the writer describes your sentiments about Bassam always having to go back, right? So you guys are on the tour, you go into kind of, how shall I say this? I mean, the contrast between the words that both of you return is uh, is almost undescribable, especially in times like today. So how does this affect your relation, if at all, with Bassam? How does this affect your lives together?
Since Since October 7th, we cannot meet each other unless we go abroad, and we meet each other abroad. Or when I disobey the Israeli law and go to the parent cycle office in Bejala, and then we can meet over there. And we do it quite often. But before that, I was used to pick him up from the checkpoint and bring him back before the checkpoint is closed. I was telling the group that I have to put him back in his cage. And this was our routine. The basic difference is between being free and being a slave. Being a master of your own time and being someone who is under military rule. And this is a fact that you cannot ignore. This is always there. It's you're not equal in any term, and this is the essence of what we are fighting about.
I think most people have absolute no, well, most people in the West, let's say America, the Western world, have absolute no inclination of what and how this occupation actually functions. Yeah, I saw some videos from checkpoints where Palestinians need to queue at 4 or earlier in the morning for multiple hours. It's like cattle. It's you cannot say it any other way. It's like cattle being driven to. I don't want to.
You're right, but I'm not sure that people do not know. I think this is the one most covered occupation on Earth ever. I think the amount of attention that this occupation gets is unprecedented, and the fact that the free and civilized world is standing aside, doing nothing about it, this is what needs to be an alarm. The occupation is known, the mishaps of the occupation, the horrors of the occupation, the crimes of the occupation are very well documented every day, especially today.
I can tell you, I'm a member of an NGO. There are a lot of well-to-do, well-educated people, and they have no clue. Yes, there is documentation, yeah, but in with these new algorithms, yeah, which kind of keep us all in our bubble. And I'm not excusing that, yeah. On the contrary, they do not know what's really going on. Yes, they have the concept from the occupation, they've heard about it, but on practical terms, what it really means for the individual lives, and to have enough empathy to try to figure out how would you feel in this situation. It's just not there. They don't have the. You can have the information if you're interested. Most people are not. Most people in our comfortable lives here in the Western world, they're not.
Yeah, but this is true for anything around the world. This is true for South Africa. This is true for Somalia. This is true for everywhere. The the situation today enables you to know if you want to know. You have the ability to get into the net and find any facts that will suit your own belief and support your own belief. The question is, what do you do with it? And we are living now in a society where 80 million Americans voting for Trump. Can you explain this? I cannot explain. So I don't expect people to be shocked by the occupation because they are fed up. My feeling from my journeys around the world that I'm being looked upon as a dying species, as a kind of a miracle. People who want to know and make the effort to come and listen to me, most of them couldn't care less. They're fed up. They had enough. They want to have their TV shows, their reality shows, their football games. They don't want to deal with some corner in the Middle East nobody heard about.
It's the old Roman concept, sugar bread and games. Yeah,
Yeah.
but are you saying the interest? I mean, are you saying in your presentations that the interest is receding?
is a huge interest in a way that it doubles itself every time.
Okay,
But
then I misunderstood. I
no,
thought
no,
you said,
no. But I think. Uh, how will I put it? I'm talking to the. I'm preaching to the choir. The people I'm talking to needs me to enhance and to enforce their belief in peace, in justice, in hope, and the vast majority couldn't care less.
you mean people who do not come?
Yeah,
come. Okay, okay.
yeah.
Yeah. I want to come back to one thing that you said, but which is maybe worth fleshing out a little bit more. Yeah. So you lost your daughter, and you were already in this Parents of Grief group,
No,
where you
when I lost my daughter, I was
no, yes, you lost your daughter, and then as a consequence of losing your daughter, you joined this Parents of Grief group, which is where you met Bassam, and by the weirdest
no, no,
construction
no,
of
no.
fate or whatever, he lost then also his daughter in this timeline. No, did I
No,
get it?
we were moving in two parallel lines that there was no chance that they will meet ever. He was a Palestinian terrorist, a Palestinian freedom fighter, if you like. He grew up in a village. He threw stones and put the Palestinian flag on the trees around his school. He was a member of a group. They threw grenades on the Israeli patriot. He was caught, 17 years old, put in jail. And for 7 years, he was the leader of the prisoners in his jail. There was no chance I will meet people like him. I'm an Israeli, a son of a Holocaust survivor, an Israeli soldier. I fought 3 wars. I am a graphic designer. I was in the backbone of the Israeli society, and we were moving into parallel lines. The killing of my daughter in 1997 was an earthquake, was a shock, because uh, it was the first time in the history of terror in the Middle East that the victim of terror, which means my wife, who was a classmate of Bibi Netanyahu, who was prime minister at that time, when he called her, she accused him. And it was the first time in the history of terror that the victim of terror accused their cause for terror, which is the occupation. Furthermore, the fact that her father, the grandfather of Smadar, was who he was. It was an earthquake because it drew a lot of attention. How can it be that the granddaughter of the peace warrior, Mati Peled, was murdered by the enemies of peace? This was something that shook the world and created a lot of interest and a lot of that when I was talking about the microphone was put under my mouth, this was exactly this, and I had to figure out. I'm in a new place now. What am I doing with it? What I can. Most of the bereaved families sink down, vaporize. I mean, they die slowly, and some of them become very, very angry and active on the other direction, and very, very few behave like me. But this was, for me, the turning point that made me look into myself and make a decision: what am I doing with this enormous energy that suddenly fell on me? Bassam was part of his society. He spent time in jail. His very, very first time of discovering the world about him or around him was the time that he watched the movie about the Holocaust in jail, and his attempt to hide his tears from the other prisoners. Palestinians deny the Holocaust. Palestinians don't acknowledge the Holocaust. They don't understand why they have to pay the price of the Holocaust, and become victims of the victims. The whole thing was completely moving in two different directions. And then my son Eli, who was a soldier in a commando unit, elite Israeli special units, special forces, got out of the army after his sister was murdered, and became activist, and became a founder of Combatants for Peace alongside with Bassam. For me, this was the clique that brought us together, and the rest is history.
All I wanted to say is you met Bassam at a time when you already had lost your daughter,
Yeah,
but his daughter was still alive. And then through I don't know if you can call this fate or whatever, he also lost his daughter.
yeah, yeah. This is it's really one hell of a story. Unbelievable.
You just said your son founded Combatants for Peace. Did I understand this correctly? Yeah. Is this
With Bassam and other 7 Palestinians and 4 Palestinians and 7 Israelis, or that 4 Israelis and 7 Palestinians.
does this group still exist?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Do they have publications?
Yeah, you can go into their website. It's called Combatants for Peace. They're doing a marvelous work on the ground, solidarity activity. Every year they are doing the alternative memorial ceremony with the parent circle. They are very, very active.
So you said you have 4 children. So that's the oldest son. So are there others also active in this area?
Uh, all of them are active. I'm the less active of my family. Uh, my son Guy, he's a theater director. He's a writer. He's a playwright. He's an actor. He's amazing, and he went through the footsteps of his grandfather. He studied Arabic. He speaks fluent Arabic. He writes and he translates from Arabic. He won several prizes. He's doing now his PhD in Exeter University in England about playing in bilingual language. His children are studying in a bilingual school in Haifa, and they speak fluent Arabic, which I believe it's the future. And I'm extremely proud of him. And my youngest
Why?
son,
Sorry. You said something important. Why do you think Arabic is the future?
because they will not disappear and we will not disappear. We need to speak each other language in order to understand the culture, in order to understand each other, in order to put an end to this endless
Hmm.
conflict.
I thought you may have hinted, and correct me if I'm wrong, I thought you may have hinted to the one-state solution.
I couldn't care less, one
Hmm.
state or 2 states or 10,000 states. You can have federation, we can have confederation. It's nonsense. One word is essential. Without it, nothing will happen. The word is respect. And you have to be able to respect the guy next to you exactly as you want to be respected. No more and no less. Once you achieve this, all the rest are technicalities. I mean, you can have the Temple Mount for 2 hours, I will have it for another hour. We can agree on things provided I don't look down at you and I don't control you and I don't rule you and you're not afraid of me. And the bottom line is very simple. From the river to the sea, everyone should be free.
How many people in Israel today think like that?
Now, I believe to be serious that under the ground the awareness is reviving, and more people understand that we cannot go on like this. That we have to do a restart, and that we have to redefine the reasons that we are willing to kill for and die for. I think more and more people understand that the state is not something sacred. It's not something that you kill or die for. State is a tool. You pay your taxes, you get security, you get roads, you don't commit suicide for the state. And people are waking up. People are trying to understand. If you pull away all the layers and get to the bottom of when you when you look at someone in the eye, what are you willing to pay for this thing which is called Jewish democratic state? Uh, More and more people are waking up. It's very, very marginal. Most of the people who are demonstrating in the streets of Tel Aviv today against the Bibi Netanyahu, the alternative for Bibi Netanyahu is no different from Bibi Netanyahu. And no one of them dares to speak about the big elephant in the center of the room, which is the occupation, which is the essence of everything, because they are still under this upbringing method that I was victim of it, of inability to look to reality in its face. We are not going away. They are not going away. We need to live together here, one way or the other.
There are alternatives. Yeah,
Which
not so nice alternatives.
which are
Uh, I think it was on October the 13th already that there were leaked documents outlining a plan of expelling all Palestinians from Gaza and potentially also the West Bank. That means this plan already existed. This is not, a couple of days after October the 7th.
it was existed even before, and
Yeah.
it's crucial to understand. This is why this situation is so crazy. It all started with the Netanyahu criminal allegations, and he's going to jail, to court, and eventually to jail. And the right wing would never get into his government without this threat over his head. And this is how October 7th happened. And this is how the judicial revolutionary happened and everything else. So if you ask me if this thinking is existing, of course it is existing, but it's not the majority in no way.
I think you said something really important and have discussed this with a number of people. Yeah, so Netanyahu's fate is directly correlated to the prolongation of this war, which is crazy
Absolutely.
if you think about it. The destiny of one man, who I interviewed the U.S. ambassador Josh Freeman 2 or 3 days ago. We talked about this too. Yeah, so he compared him to Hitler, by destroying himself and taking the whole country down. I'm not sure if it's also valid for Netanyahu, but at the moment, whoever I talk to, they all agree. He has a personal stake at prolonging the war. That leads me to the question. I mean, Israelis must. I mean, indoctrination, yes or no? Yeah, but they must see this.
This is why half of them are going to the streets to demonstrate against him. But they don't talk about the problem. They don't talk about this central basic problem that led us to this situation. They think that if they put guns instead of Netanyahu, everything will be okay. Nothing will be okay. But they will.
Netanyahu.
I promise you that they will wake up. It's a very painful waking up process, which October 7th is part of it. But they will wake up and understand that there is no other way, that we have to solve this problem. And the price of it will be civil war in Israel. There is no way out of it.
That would be my next point. Civil war, also a topic that came up a number of times. And the interesting part here is, and it's actually not interesting, it's perplexing from an outsider. Yeah, the Likud party, sorry, the Likud party, for which Netanyahu is now what 20 years the leader. The Likud party caters to the Sephardic, to the Oriental Jews, right? That's my understanding. And there
No,
is this.
I'm not sure I understood what you said.
You have Ashkenazi, and apologies if I don't get the pronunciation right. Yeah, you have Ashkenazi Jews, and
Yeah.
you have Sephardic Jews. Yeah,
Yeah.
one are the European descent, and the other the Arabic descent. And the Jews with the Arabic descent have been or felt at least discriminated. And
Yeah.
the Likud party from the very beginning, despite being from the other group, from the Ashkenazi group, catered to the desires of the opposite, to the Sephardic Jews, right? And this is my understanding based on a couple of conversations that I had, which is
Uh, you have to study the sociology of the political environment in Israel. It's very complicated. The Israeli society is built out of tribes. There is the Sephardic tribes, there is the Ashkenazi tribe, there is the Bedouin tribe, there is the Arab tribe, there are the Russian tribe, the Ethiopian tribe. All these have political interest, and
And they don't have the same rights. So for example, the Ethiopian,
of course not. Of course, they don't have the same rights, and this is part of the problem, the gap and the tensions between the so what Netanyahu geniusly did is move all this anger, all this hatred, all this energy to the direction of the right wing of the political map, and created a raft between the two sides of Israeli society in a way that is almost unbridgeable. Uh, but it's much more complex and dramatically complicated than you described.
of course, as an outsider and being far away, and I make it very black and white. But there is an internal tension within Israel, which is what you already mentioned, and you were not the only one of my speakers. I think it was a recent speaker, maybe it was Professor Omar Bartov, who said, if there would be a fair solution in regards to the Palestinians, then you would have civil war. And any politician touching today the West Bank, trying to get the 750,000 highly armed and supported by the Israeli army out, equally would risk civil war.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
This is one of the. This is what happened because of Oslo. This is what happened when Prime Minister Rabin was murdered. This is we are sitting on a time bomb and we are hostages. They hold us in our balls. This it's not 750,000 because most of the 750,000 settlers are normal human beings. They were offered cheap houses and they went. They are not ideological. If people will tell them go, we will compensate you, they will go. The nuclear, the hard-headed settlers, the right wingers, the fascists, the ultra orthodox, the people who will fight, the people who killed the Prime Minister Rabin. These are the people who will not give up under any circumstances. And, even if there will be free elections and the democratically decision, they will not accept it ever. I don't know what the solution to it will be. All I can, and I'm not a prophet, and I think that we have to look to the far future, not to the near future. To the far future, if you look, you see that history moves in a certain direction. If I would tell you today that Americans and Japanese, after the atomic bomb, will live together like brothers, if I will tell you about the apartheid state, about the Berlin Wall that fall down, Bassam always says the Palestinians did not kill 6 million Israelis, and the Israelis did not kill 6 million Palestinians. And there is an Israeli ambassador in Berlin and a German ambassador in Tel Aviv. The fact is that we can do it, and the hatred and the wrath is not that we cannot overcome it. But it will take one day when the price of not having peace will exceed the price of peace. The two sides will crawl back to the negotiating table to start again exactly where they left off in Camp David in 24 years ago, because there is no other alternative.
Rami, you were very generous with your time. Coming to the conclusion here, is there any message, something that you would like to share?
The happiest day of my life will be when my dear brother Bassam Amin will be my prime minister, my president, my emperor, my king, without the need to be re-elected. This is my message.
And if people would like to reach out to you or support or whatever, is there means?
Um, you can read the book. You
Very good
can
point.
you can get into exactly. You can get into our website, which is theparentscircle.org. You can read about so many activities we do in order to put the cracks in the wall. We do dialogue meetings in high schools. We do narrative groups in which we teach people who do not pay the price yet to be able to listen to each other. We do summer camps for our kids, which are amazing. We have a very strong women group, which is very, very powerful. We do a lot of activities on the ground, solidarity activities to show our support that we are not just talking and what we are doing. Now, these very days, we are participating in the olive harvest in the Palestinian villages. When you get to the bottom of this website, there is a round button. It says donate. You can push it.
I will put a link to this website in the description below.
Okay.
Okay. Rami, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
A quick call to action. Some of the best interviews on this channel are shadow banned, which means YouTube is not presenting them to you, the viewer. The latest example is my interview with James Bamford, where we discussed the truly amazing story that underlies Benjamin Netanyahu's corruption scandal. Did you know that a Hollywood billionaire not only stole nuclear secrets from America, but then sold them to Israel? And that Netanyahu helped him to stay out of troubles to this very day? And then Netanyahu turned around and started to ask for favors, hence the bribery charges in Israel against him. Other examples are the interviews with the so-called Hamas lawyer Stanley Cohen, or the interview with the former chief of staff of Colin Powell, who told me that the white powder in the test tube that Colin Powell showed the world when he testified at the UN just before the war on Iraq was actually salt. So if you're interested in content that apparently you're not supposed to see, content that goes against the mainstream narrative, have a look at some of the previous interviews that we have recorded for your pleasure. And of course, it really helps to spread the news if you like and subscribe to this channel.